This is the all-new Community Connection. I'm your host, Jade Harrell, keeping you connected to our community. Well, it's time to say goodbye to some dear friends. Well, it's been a wonderful part to have our ash trees available for us in our neighborhoods, but it's time to part company. Why, oh why would we say goodbye? Well, I am joined today by two people who will help us understand why our relationship here will now change. I'm joined today by Donna Coble of the Forest ReLeaf Group of Missouri, and Skip Kincaid, who is our city commissioner on forestry. Hello, you two know trees well. Why on earth would we break up?
It's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
We're quite honestly, we're kind of torn up about it. Okay. This is a huge loss of trees in our city. Mm-hmm. You know, ash trees make up about 17% of our street trees in the city of St. Louis. Yeah. So this is going to have a very big impact. While it may not be very reassuring, the truth is that this is happening in cities throughout the northeastern United States. Okay. It kind of jumped over St. Louis. Kansas City is being affected, Denver and Boulder, Colorado. But the Northeast, the Detroit area, the upper Midwest, they've been dealing with this for about 12 years.
So we knew what's going on.
It's an insect. It's called the emerald ash borer, and it's a very small insect. You can fit 3 of them on a penny, so they look very innocent. And a lot of people think, well, okay, we got a bug moving into St. Louis. We'll just spray it and we'll do away with it. Well, unfortunately, this bug is very smart, it's very resilient, and it's very hungry. So it's going to kill every ash tree that we have in this region unless we do some chemical treatments. The problem is the chemical treatments are very expensive. So we are planning to treat some, about 10% of our street tree population, but we're going to have to remove the rest of them.
Wow. Talk about the impact of that, Donna.
Well, I think...
And you look sad right now.
I am sad.
Share a little bit about why you feel...
What we know is, what we've learned from other cities that have been through this, is when you lose that many trees, what you see happen is increased incidence of asthma, increased incidence of crime, all kinds of things that the trees are doing for us besides just providing ecosystem benefits.
Let's talk about the trees story then. Our friends, the trees, affect crime and asthma. What are we overlooking and taking for granted?
We are taking for granted so much of what our trees are doing for us every year. I mean, trees are giving back to us probably $123 a year just in ecosystem benefits. In terms of stormwater runoff, they're storing carbon. They're cleaning our air. They're just making our place healthier,
Right.
Just basically aesthetic. It's like when you drive down the street and you see trees, it calms you.
Oh, it does. Yeah. Emotional and mental well-being.
Makes you it makes your neighborhood a happier place to live.
Yeah.
They find that people spend more money when they shop in stores that have trees lining those streets. So if all of a sudden you find those trees are no longer there, it's going to have a big impact in a lot of different areas we aren't even thinking about.
Right. Those are a few that I had not considered, and it's kind of bumming me out too.
I know.
Now, does it really kind of equate to a cost and opportunity loss then?
It's an opportunity loss.
Because what happens if the bugs... And, no offense, little bug, but gee. But if the bugs are going to go on and kill them, is there some natural thing or part of this ecosystem that would make sense? What are the repercussions of the bugs having their way?
Well, the insect is not only going to affect ash trees that are street trees or park trees, managed areas. They're going to affect ash trees out in the woodland areas as well. So we're going to see kind of a change in some of the dynamics of the forest ecosystem in Missouri. These bugs came over here from China. They're one of these exotic invasive pests that we're going to see more and more of in the future. And in China, the ash trees over time, or as they both developed, those ash trees have a built-in resistance to this ash borer.
Yeah.
But once that little critter made its way over here, our ash trees are in effect defenseless. So we're going to see this massive dieback of trees. Donna and I are both tree people, so we will sit here and talk about the great and wonderful benefits of trees. And people can believe us because we're very good, honest people, but they can also believe a lot of the science that has been developed around, as Donna mentioned, the health benefits and the social benefits of having a green place to live. And the list just goes on and on and on.
Right. What are a few that we hadn't heard from Donna that are little known facts?
Some very detailed studies showing direct relationships between chronic heart problems and respiratory problems that are related to the loss of trees. Even very recently, in the last 12 or so years, scientists have gone into cities where there has been a large dieback of ash trees, and they find increased incidence of respiratory issues. So, it's critical. Young people that grow up in areas with trees have fewer levels of ADD. So, these studies, again, we're tree people, so we read these studies and we say, yeah, we knew trees were good.
Hooray for trees.
But we're hopeful that people who may just have a casual relationship with trees appreciates this and understands this, that there really are some very technical benefits for trees.
Well, that's the idea behind this conversation. So the problem is the insect is going to come and die back, as you say, much of our ash tree population. So what is Missouri's proposed response?
It's very varied across the state. Some communities are doing nothing. It's the head in the sand approach. Some cities are saying, we're just going to wait and see what happens. And as trees die, we'll remove them. And countless cities across the United States have taken that approach, and they've learned the hard way that it's the wrong approach.
Okay, what happens there then?
This insect works so quickly, you end up with more trees than you can handle, or more dead trees than you can handle.
Wow.
So it kind of gets away from you. So here in St. Louis, what we've done, and it's primarily through the benefit of learning from the mistakes of many other cities, we're being very proactive. We've already treated about half of the city with chemicals in the trees that are going to protect them from the ash borer. We're going to do the other half the city next summer. And these are the healthier and larger ash trees that are better candidates for treatment. And like I mentioned, unfortunately, there will be many, close to 90% that we will have to remove. Now, we haven't mentioned it yet, and I know we'll get to it eventually, but the good news is that we are replanting these trees that we're going to remove.
Are we replanting ash trees?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Poor ash.
I think one of the other lessons learned as a result of not being the first to have to deal with this is that if you don't communicate and communicate with people and tell them what's going on, then people are in crisis mode about it. You come home from work and all the trees in front of your house are gone. That's pretty upsetting.
Yeah.
But if people know ahead of time what the problem is, why it's happening, what the response is, it's well thought out, and that those trees are being replaced, and that they have a role to play in that, and that they have an opportunity to be part of the solution, that makes a huge difference. And that is where we come in with replacing those trees and helping to replace. So we are not replacing them with ash trees.
Right.
We have not been growing ash trees or planting ash trees in quite a long time because we've known this is coming. So we're replacing with a variety of species and working with Skip and forestry in the city to determine what's going to make the most sense depending on the location. So for every tree that comes down, there'll be a new one in its place.
And it takes a little time for them to grow and mature, but then
they are slow growers.
Yeah, right. and rightly so, because look at the work that they have to do. But what's to say that there won't be another bug of another species of another variety, and then or that the ash tree borer doesn't just take on another tree or something. He's like, he can identify however he wants.
Right. Emerald ash borer has been fairly specific. There's one other closely related species of tree that it impacts, but ash is really the big one. But there are other insects out there. We know this. Chicago, New York City, Boston, Massachusetts have been dealing with a critter called Asian longhorn beetle. And this is a really terrifying looking critter, kind of beautiful actually, but very large. Emerald ash borer is this little green, metallic green, kind of cute looking bug. Asian longhorn beetle is huge. You probably couldn't even fit one on a 50-cent piece. I don't know if anybody uses those anymore, but
I try to save them and keep my kids away from them.
There you go. But they're very large, and they are just about as destructive as emerald ash borer. Mm-hmm. So we are preparing ourselves for the onslaught of Asian longhorn beetle here eventually.
Well, good grief. So tell me this. Do you all know if this is related to any other environmental conditions? Is this something we're doing? Did the cat scare the bugs out of somebody swallowed a fly? I don't know why. How did this get to be an issue to where we'd have to go and do something so drastic?
I think a lot of it just has to do with the economy. You looked up Asian longhorn beetle. Yeah, he's a big one. But,
everybody's going to Google that.
Yes.
I was just in Canada a few days ago and went through the Canadian Forest Institute's center where they actually raise these insects for research, and got a chance to hold one. So
aren't you special?
I'll bring you one soon so that you can hold one.
I'll just take your word for it.
But suffice it to say, there's a ton of research on these things. We know that emerald ash borer is one of many that's coming this way.
But this is just where we have to deal with the situation right now, and I'm sure that's where, like you said, Donna, it's been thought through, and thank goodness we have advocates like you that could be in the room to say, have you considered, is there any other way? Please don't forget how valuable our trees are to us.
And I think if you plant a diversity of species, then if something comes along and attacks just a certain type of tree, at least it's not attacking everything. So.
It can't just set up shop and say, hey, let's take a look here. Well, then share a little bit about your organization, the Forest ReLeaf of Missouri.
Sure. We've been around for 23 years.
Congratulations.
We're started here in St. Louis I think, Skip, you were around at the very beginnings of this organization. It started with planting 10,000 trees in a day on the riverfront, and that was back in 1990. And then at the end of that planting, everybody got together and said, well, how do we sustain this effort? And formed Forest ReLeaf of Greater St. Louis, was shortly thereafter morphed into Forest ReLeaf of Missouri. We do work statewide.
Okay.
We have a nursery where we grow our trees from bare root seedling. That's located in Creve Coeur Park. Our offices are over on Lindell in the city. We've got about 25,000 trees growing right now, and we give them away for free to groups, churches, schools, municipalities. It's kind of a first-come, first-served basis. Yeah. The stipulation being you plant them on other nonprofit or public properties.
Okay.
And we grow them in 3-gallon containers, 5-gallon, 7-gallon, and 15-gallon. So the trees that we are giving to Skip to plant to replace these trees we're taking down are the bigger trees, the 15-gallon.
So that they're
going to be the larger.
There'll be a nice way to kind of replace that landscape.
Right.
What a cool partnership that turned out to be, Skip.
It's, you always wonder when you're involved in something whether there's going to be an impact down the road. We invest in so many things in our life, and when Forest ReLeaf was created many, many years ago, I had no idea that eventually I would be in a different position and be working this closely with Forest ReLeaf. But we are so blessed to have them in this city and in this state. They do so many wonderful things. Donna mentioned the trees that they have. We're going to be using our contractor that we, have been dealing with for years and years to supply trees that we would normally be planting anyway. But we're also going to be reaching out to Forest ReLeaf for some assistance with providing additional stock. Sure. So we're really blessed. And they're also helping with this communication. Donna mentioned how important communication is. we could go about our business and just do our thing because we have the right to do it, but it would be very difficult to do.
Yeah.
The more transparent we are, the more we communicate with people, the more that we involve the neighborhoods and let them know what's going on and help them to be part of the solution, it's value added.
Well, for sure. Well, Donna, you said there were ways that we could help and get involved. So
Right.
I appreciate the communication. I certainly do, especially something that will touch us so personally and closely. But talk about how we can help, and let's go ahead and send out that invitation.
Sure.
Now that we know what's going on, how do we get involved?
One of the things that we have learned from the many projects that we have coordinated over the years, especially working in the city of St. Louis on major planting events, is if we do a really good job up front with getting out into the neighborhood and letting people know that it's going to be happening, and you do that work with getting the neighbors out and you let them know there's going to be a planting event, and which takes some time, and we do that in a variety of ways. We've got these door hangers we use that we put on doors that say, hey, there's going to be a planting event in your neighborhood. Come out. We're going to barbecue. There's going to be donuts. There's going to
there
be
you go.
coffee. Come out and help.
Yeah.
And we get people coming out. They name their trees. They adopt their trees.
Yeah.
Plant in honor of or in memory of, and turn it into a big event. Then that helps us know that someone's going to take care of that tree that's planted.
Because the tree needs that too.
Because we also know that if we just went in there and planted them, people are going to say, well, what? I don't have any investment in this.
Yep.
Why are you planting a tree in front of my house that I didn't ask for? So you get the neighbors involved and you give them a chance to kind of be part of it all.
Yeah. And
so one of the things that people will start seeing around, if they haven't already, we've made these little signs that are going up. Skip has a sign that lets everybody know that the tree is coming down. And where there's a little companion sign that's from the ash tree standpoint saying, we're sorry we have to leave you, but I hope you'll be part of replacing me, and we will be letting you know when that happens.
Nice.
So I'm actually, Forest ReLeaf is recruiting right now for helpers.
Okay.
So the information to do that, they can send an email
sounds like a fun
to info@moreleaf.org.
Moreleaf.
Moreleaf, MORELEF.org.
Yeah.
And send me a resume, and we are looking for people to help us with those planting projects this fall.
Sounds like
we'll start
fun.
replanting this fall as soon as
right
those
away,
trees,
I would imagine.
when those trees come down and when we're sure the hot weather's over.
Yeah. That there is wisdom for sure. Skip, anything else we want to leave with our listeners before we go?
Well, we keep talking about communication and trying to let people know what's going on. And, we would love it if all we had to do was spread good news. Unfortunately, this is all pretty bad news, that we have to go through this. But again, we're blessed that we have the responsiveness of city government to fund a lot of this work. We have Forestry ReLeaf who's stepping in, getting some grant money to provide just incredible talent with communication. But one of the things that we want to communicate to everybody is, again, trees are going to be removed. Street trees are going to be removed. You'll probably see these yellow signs on the trees that are going to come down. So shouldn't be too much of a surprise, but I'm just really fearful that somebody's going to leave work one morning and drive down their tree-lined, beautiful street to go to work, and they're going to come home that afternoon, and their whole street is going to be devoid of trees. It's going to happen. But I just want people to be prepared, to know that we have done our homework, we have planned, we're reaching out to other folks, the Missouri Department of Conservation, Forest ReLeaf, all the expertise that we can get so that we're hopeful that we're moving in the right direction with this and letting people know what's going on.
Which is why we want to do it together.
Right.
All right. So it is the ash tree removal plan that's coming to our city. Look for the yellow signs on your big trees and know that there are trees on the way to replace them thanks to the Forest Relief of Missouri and their efforts there. We can't thank you enough for trying every way to make this the best possible outcome that we can have with regard to this work and initiative. All right, Skip Kincaid, City Commissioner of Forestry for the City of St. Louis, and Donna Coble with Forest ReLeaf. Thank you both very much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for this week. If you have questions or comments or have something you'd like to include in the community calendar, you can leave a message on our message box at 314-333-8369, 314-333-8369. And for more information about our show or any of our guests, you can visit us online and listen to the podcast at Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. And search Community Connection with Jade Harrell. You all be blessed, do blessed, and take care.